Welcome back to this already the final segment of the very quick Price of Business show here today. I got David Dye on. He's a leadership speaker, author, coach with a company called Trailblaze Inc. That's trailblazeinc.com. David, welcome to the program. I like your website. I like your messaging. How are you today?
Well, good morning. I'm doing well, and thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, we all need to be figuring out how to get more done, build teams that care, meet goals, and I think those are all lofty ambitions. Tell us a little bit about your background and a little bit about trailblazeinc.com.
Well, my background quickly was 15, 20 years in the nonprofit world, and I served really in every position you can think of in the nonprofit world. And in that time, I helped replicate organizations and did a lot of leadership and professional development for staff, and came to realize that that is what I most have a passion for. So when you said get more done, meet our goals, and build teams that care, the reality is so many of the leaders out there, they're hard pressed to do that. They've got a lot of responsibilities and not a lot of time. So try to provide people tools that can do that quickly.
Yeah, and to be frank, I mean, and I don't mean to be disparaging. Not everyone out there is a people person, but unfortunately, if they've got a business or a company out there that they're trying to grow, if they want to get beyond, solopreneur status or mom and pop status, they've got to get people involved.
You're absolutely right, and you can't do anything alone. That's the reality of doing a business. Like, I'm a solopreneur, and I still have a team of 6 different folks, all engaged in various ways on a part-time status. The world we're in, if you're going to go someplace, you've got to take people with you.
So tell me what kind of things you do for your clients, and what are typical clients to your firm?
So we provide our expertise in a variety of ways. I mean, we do speaking, keynotes, trainings. They can be multi-day. They can just be a quick thing over lunch, individual coaching. And, there's a lot of executive coaches out there. I like to say that I'm working with frontline and mid-level managers in particular. You can go in and find all kinds of resources for C-suite, and the marketplace is filled with executive coaches, but there aren't as many resources or people speaking directly to those frontline and mid-level managers, where the rubber meets the road, and all of the Gallup surveys and everything else say, hey, when somebody leaves an organization, they're leaving their manager, and that's usually a frontline or a mid-level manager.
How do you get a corporation to buy in training those? Because I would assume that one of the reasons why there's not a lot of resources for those middle level people is because of the fact that the organizations they work with may not be committed to them. Or is your client entirely the individual that works at that level?
Sure. And, every business, when you're a solution provider like we are, every business that you talk to wants to save time, save money, or make more money. I mean, those are universal needs that every business has. And all 3 of those come down to leadership. I like to say everyone's a volunteer. Money gets bodies in the door. You can pay somebody a wage or a salary. All that does is get them in the door. But what kind of discretionary effort they're putting towards their work, their creativity, their problem solving, the energy that they're showing up with, all of that is specifically the result of leadership. And so that, it's a very practical, tangible result that any executive, business owner, small business owner, or large CEO of a Fortune 500, that's the reality that every single person who's in business faces on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What would you say is the biggest challenge these individuals are having, these tactical leaders, if you will?
I think that one of the biggest felt challenges is just time. They're, especially coming through the recession and so on, you hear it consistently. People are asked to do more with less, and it's one of those realities that we'd like to say, hey, when things improve, let's do more with more, but the reality is that doesn't often happen. So learning how to be influential, how to get the best out of people in very quick interactions is a key skill that people need today.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And what would you say is the biggest challenge in beginning to engage with these type of clients, finding these type of clients and beginning a working relationship with them?
I tend to work quite a bit with your analytical types, so people in medicine, facilities maintenance, contractors, technology, so on. And so a lot of times people with more of a task orientation, as you mentioned earlier, they're not necessarily people off the bat. They may recognize the need, but it's sometimes difficult for them to recognize the underlying cause of some of their troubles. They recognize there's somewhere they want to go, there's somewhere they want to get, and they're not getting there as fast as they'd like to. So having that initial conversation and asking some questions to help them drill down to what's working for them and where they're running into their roadblocks. And once you get that identified, then you're able to take some of those next steps.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. All right, talking about helping these business professionals, especially the mid-level ones, take their business to the next level, get more done, taking care of those teams that are crucial. The company's called Trailblaze.com. It's exactly like it sounds. Trailblaze.com.
David, throw an ink in there. TrailblazeInc.com.
Thank you. TrailblazeInc.com. Thank you very much. TrailblazeInc.com. So, what is your background before you started doing this, David?
So, in the nonprofit world, I was actually started my career as a high school teacher, believe it or not, and I still think that's some of the most valuable experience that I've ever had when it comes to leadership. You know, and one of the stories that I share is of an inner city high school student who was really struggling, and I called him after class. I wanted to encourage him, and I realized, golly, I don't have a leg to stand on to try to encourage this kid. I mean, we have different backgrounds. Who knows what he's been through? And I started asking him about himself. And in middle school, at age 11, he had been shot in the leg. There was still a bullet in his leg. He had a piece of his ear missing, and I asked him from a bullet that had taken a chunk of his ear out, almost killed him. And I asked him what he was doing back in school because he dropped out for a while. And he said, you know, mister, I went to 11 different funerals last year. And after that 11th one, I looked up and I was like, man, this ain't normal. I got to do something. So I got back in school. And the message for me there as a teacher, and I think for every leader, is that every single person has their own internal motivation. I never gave that kid a homework assignment again. I gave him a step away from a culture of death and violence. And as a leader, if you can tap into the internal motivations that people already bring into the workplace, bring to your team, whether it's to provide for their family, whether they're connected to the mission or the widget you're making, it doesn't matter. Everybody brings something with them. Everybody's a volunteer. And so when you can tap into that, man, you got a powerful team happening.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Great stuff. Great stuff. I want to encourage people to learn more about David Dye, our guest today, trailblazeinc.com. trailblazeinc.com. You'll also get the opportunity to learn more about his book. It's a relatively new book, The 7 Things Your Team Needs to Hear You Say?
Yep. Came out last fall, won a couple of awards. It's been getting some really good responses from readers. The 7 Things Your Team Needs to Hear You Say. It's available on Amazon and BarnesandNoble.com. Anywhere you buy books online, you'll find it.
Thanks for being with us. I'm Kevin Price. When we come back tomorrow, we'll have much more for you. I do want to remind you that the best content here is found over there at usdailyreview.com. Part of today's show, sponsored in part by CAOOY.org. Have a great day and spend it right here on this station.